Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at mathematical expressions. So I've given you a few terms here. An expression is just basically a couple of terms that you're doing an operation on. There's no equal signs in these. That's what you need to know. So a numerical expression is what it sounds like. It contains only numbers and mathematical signs, no equal signs. So addition, subtraction, division, one of those signs. Then we have what we call an outbreak expression. This is a little different because this can contain one or more variable along with numbers and the operation signs, but again, no equal sign. And then a variable, since now we've used that term, what is a variable? Well, it's simply a symbol. We represent them using letters that we use when we don't know what a number is. So we take the number out, we put it in a variable, meaning it's whatever number I make it into later on. So then I just wanted to give a little brief review of some of the words that we typically use when we're talking about addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, because we'll be taking word phrases and translating them into the actual numeric phrases. So addition, words that kind of clue you in that they want you to add would be sum, added to, more, plus, increased by. There are more, but those are your most common ones. Subtraction, your most common terms you're going to find are difference, subtracted from, minus, less, decreased by. Those are all indications that they want you to subtract. Multiplication, you might hear terms like times, multiplied by, the product, the factors. The one that throws kids off a lot is like twice. That just means 2 times. It'll say twice a number, 2 times a number. Division, words, quotient, divided by, goes into. Those would all be things that indicate you're going to be doing division. So we'll take a look at a few of those and taking word phrases and translating them into our math phrases. So if you look here, the first thing I do, I look at this. I look for the number words. It tells me 4, it tells me 5, and it tells me 0. Those are the numbers I'm going to be using. Then I want to go and I want to look for what are some of the keywords that we just talked about that tell me what operations is happening here. Here I have times, so that tells me that I'm multiplying. Over here I have the word sum, so that means I'm adding. It's the sum of 5 and 0, so those would be the 2 numbers that I'm adding together, 4 times the sum of them. However, if you look at how it's worded, it wants us to multiply 4 times the sum, meaning I should do my addition first. The way I've written this, if we follow order of operation, I would have to multiply and then add, and that's not what it's asking me to do. It wants me to get the sum first, which means I need to put some parentheses around this. Your word phrases aren't going to say parentheses. There might be a comma which could indicate that, or if it says something times the sum, that's going to indicate that you need to group that other one together first, because you need to think about the order of operation when you're setting these up as well. So let's take a look at our second one. Again, I look at my numbers first. I've got 8 squared, that would be an exponent. 8 squared means 8 to the second power. 10, and the other one was 2. So then we want to look at, again, what is it saying? More than indicates an addition. Product tells me I'm multiplying. And again, we want to read the whole word phrase to kind of make sure that we don't need parentheses somewhere, because I want 2 more than the product of 8 and 10. I don't need to put parentheses in this one because order of operation tells me to do the multiplication first. If you want to add them, that's fine. Multiply, then we would add the 2 more. So again, here I look. I have 1/3 a number. Here's where we have a variable. If you see it use the phrase a number, that just means I don't know what the number is. It could be any number depending on the situation. And 7. So I've got 7, we're going to use a variable, I'm just going to stick with n, and 1/3. I also see the word sum here, and if you'll recall, back last year we talked about this. When we're talking about 1/3 of something, it means we're multiplying, so there's kind of an implied multiplication here. Again, we don't really want to use our times anymore. We want to get away from using that x as a time now that we're using variables. So 1/3 times the sum, which means it wants me to add first. If I'm adding and then multiplying, my addition needs to be in parentheses so that I know I'm doing it first. Let's take a look at our last one. Again, I see a number, which tells me I don't know what the number is. Plug in a variable for that. 8 and 2 are my numbers. Then let's look at our phrases, what it wants us to do. The sum, which means I'm going to be adding the sum of a number and 8, and then divided by 2. However, if you look, there's a comma here, so basically what that means is I want to do the first part first, the sum of n plus a number first. So how am I going to indicate that? Well, I'm going to put it into parentheses because otherwise order of operation tells me that I would have to divide and then add, and that's not what the word phrase is saying. So you have to make sure you're reading it carefully and understanding the order of operation and where you need to put parentheses to make that come out properly. Now we'll just look at a couple, which is basically going the opposite way. Here I'm going to give you this written out mathematically. We're going to translate it into a word phrase that would mean this. So basically what you want to think about is, if I were to read this out loud, what would it sound like? So if you'll recall, these lines mean the absolute value. If I have a negative here, I could read that as the opposite of. So what I would say here is the opposite of the absolute value of negative 3. Then take a look at this, plus a. Now, is that the only way I could have written it? No, there are a few other ways I could say this. I could say a number plus the opposite of the absolute value of negative 3, or I could say negative absolute value of 3 in addition to a. So there's not just one right way to say it. When you're using words, there's a couple different ways you can say it. I'm just picking the way that I would commonly choose to do it. So if you look here, if you remember, order of operation tells me I would have to do the exponent first. So I might just start out saying that a number to the third power, or the third power we can also call cubed. A number cubed, and it's okay that I'm stating them out of order because in multiplication, if you remember our properties, order doesn't matter. And then I'm just going to use times, nice and simple, times 5. So just think about how you would say this out loud. If I was going to read it, I would probably read it in order, and I'd just say 5 times a number cubed. So there's a couple different ways you can write it. All right, taking a look here at this one, and again, when you're doing this, you want to think about order of operation. Order of operations with this division sign here is telling me I need to do my x minus 12 first, then divide it by 2. So the way I'm going to word that is I'm going to say the difference of, because that's telling me the difference, I want that answer before I divide it. The difference of a number and 12 divided by 2. So you just want to be careful how you're wording it, because if I were to say it a different way, it could come out meaning something different. If I were to say x minus 12 times 2, or 12 divided by 2, you might think I needed to do my division first and then subtract. So we really want to think about how it is that we're wording it. When I say the difference, what I mean is I want to do this part first before the next part and kind of go outside of the order of operations. If you have any questions, feel free to rewatch the video. You can write your questions in the comment or just ask them tomorrow in class. I'll see you tomorrow, guys.